The Fantasy Skirmisher.
Scenario 5. It's the final battle called Kill the Chieftain. So we have the table all set up, ready to go. And here we have Krugar the Cruel. More on him later. He is the Orc Chieftain who's out to reclaim his name. Got to Orc Brute there. A couple of Goblin Hordes. Goblin Wolf Rider ready to charge the defenders. A single goblin. And here we have the defenders and the villagers who are safe in the tower. At least we hope they are, right? And there is Gargoth, the lieutenant, Krugar's lieutenant. And here over in the back here we have another Goblin Wolf Rider and a single goblin over here. So in the last scenario, if you recall, it was pretty easy to get the villagers into the tower because they had line of sight and the invaders were still kind of far off. So I think what happened is they got an early warning and had sufficient time to seek shelter. So we'll see how this one goes. In order to win this scenario, and the campaign for that matter, we need to kill the Orc Chieftain or force him to flee the table. And so at the end of a turn in which the Orc Chieftain has received a wound, we check his morale. If the number of PCs equal or outnumber the total surviving Orcs and Goblins, then the Orc Chieftain will immediately flee. If the Orc Chieftain is killed or flees, then all the remaining foes on the table will also flee. So we just remove them from the table immediately, and we won the campaign. If you recall, we trained a couple of villagers to be additional bowmen, and they entered this scenario. And so the villagers work a little bit differently in this scenario, in that they don't have to be restricted to within 4 inches of the fortified area. So they can move around the table. They must move in groups of 2 or 3. And each group activates together, and they must remain within 2 inches of the other members in their group. Also, when you roll for actions, if they roll a 1 through 7, they do not have to draw an event card. So they can be really powerful in this scenario, just as they were in the last one. So Olwain, like the last scenario, is assumed to be the last archer standing if any are killed. And her stats are in the appendix, which we're going to look at next, because that's something we haven't really looked closely at in the previous episodes. In the back of the book are foes and other characters, meaning the NPCs. And we've talked a lot about Aravi, the one-eyed ogre. Hopefully we'll be able to get him in action and actually try to fight him this time, because he's always been kind of skulking in the background and has not made an impact on the game. One thing I read last night, which is really interesting, is there's an NPC called Rothbell the Wise Woman. So if you recall, at the end of the scenarios when we're back in the village, she would heal any wounds that we may have, and she even provided us with healing potions. Here there's additional rules where we must roll a charisma roll successfully on a DL10. Only then she'll heal us and provide us a potion. Now, she is not mentioned in the scenarios. However, with that said, there's 2 scenarios, well, 2 versions of each scenario. There's the basic, which what we've been doing, and an expert scenario. So I haven't read the expert scenario rules closely, but from what I saw, Rothbell is not mentioned in any of them. So I thought that's kind of interesting. Also, there's another NPC, Coleman the Brewer. And so he's a popular guy in Mistham because of his exceptional skill in brewing the finest ale. And all PCs that have the heavy drinker negative trait, such as my barbarian, suffers a -1 to the pregame drunkenness roll for scenarios 3, 4, or 5. And that's because of the strength of his brew. So Dwayne, when she has rolled pretty high. So she was legit sober through all the scenarios. But that's just something that was not mentioned going through the instructions for each scenario, only here in the Foes and Other Characters appendix. And then remember our old friend Gargeth the Cunning. He is the orc brute that's Krugar the Cruel's loyal lieutenant that started in scenario 2. And since he comes back each scenario because we haven't killed him, he gains +1 to his danger level in each subsequent scenario. So he's pretty powerful now. So he's going to be a force to be reckoned with if we have to take him out or try to take him out in melee. And then finally we have, well, not quite finally, we have Krugar the Cruel, the orc chieftain. So I'm going to read the text here. Krugar is the orc chieftain who is leading the attacks on Mistham. He suffered disgrace after being defeated in single combat by a rival chieftain and exiled from his homeland. He has spent years building up a new following, intending to return home and extract his revenge. He believes that by destroying a human settlement like Mistham, he will restore his reputation. During his exile, Kruger has collected various magical items to help him in his quest for revenge, which also serve to negate the usual orc susceptibility to magic. So he has a danger level of 13, 4 hit points, he does 2 damage, and if we kill him, we roll 2d6 for silver plus magic items. He is a boss, a trait, which means that every time he activates let me reread this here. Each time he activates, the nearest orc, goblin, orc horde, or goblin horde will activate as well. And he has the Amulet of Protection, which gives him +2 versus any magical or mundane ranged attacks. And he has an enchanted sword. He gains +1 to hit and +1 damage, which I believe is reflected in the damage here of 2. But I need to double check that. You'd think it would be included, but he may deal out 3 damage, which would be pretty interesting. All right, and then we have Olwain here. She has archery +3, but she has archery +4 in scenario 5, so she is super powerful. And Minay, she can be deployed as an independent fighter in the last scenario, and she has an axe, and so if she inflicts at least 1 wound on the orc chieftain, she will immediately gain +1 level on melee rolls with her axe. So the question is, should I bring her out or should I keep her safe in the tower? I don't know. I'll think about that. And then at the end, it's got various stats for monsters, such as the orc boar rider, orc wolf riders, so on and so forth. All right, now let's start the game. The attack is in full swing. The defenders have rallied, and Rayek is going to start things off. He sees the goblin wolf rider charging, so he's going to roll to see if he could do 3 actions. And he rolled a 19, 13, and a 20. So he has 4 actions total. All right, so he is going to obviously start shooting at this goblin wolf rider. And the goblin wolf rider's danger level, let's take a look here real quick at the rules, is 8. And has 2 hit points. So the first shot is 18. That is 1 hit. Second shot is 15. And another hit. And that goblin wolf rider goes down. Wow. Starting off with hot rolling again. Alright, so the goblin wolf rider goes down. And Rayek still has 2 actions left. So he's going to use his 3rd action to move forward 4 inches. And then he is going to try to take a shot at this goblin horde right here. Let's measure the distance. It is 10 inches, which means he has a -2 modifier to his roll. And the goblins are a 7 danger level to hit. And he rolled a 20. Yeah, so there we go. All right, Rayek. He's obviously MVP so far this game. Next, I'm going to activate Dimly. And he's going to attempt 3 actions. And he rolled a 9, 18, and 19. So he also has 3 actions. So what are we going to do here? Well, he sees Gargoth charging off on the flank here. So let's see. He's definitely within range to try to cast Magic Dart. So he needs to roll a 10 or better to cast it. He rolled a 1. And I need to double check, see if anything happens if you roll a 1 trying to cast a spell. So I found the roll, and I'm glad I remembered that probably something bad happened if you roll a 1. And it's right here, running out of magic energy. So whenever a PC rolls a 1 on a magic roll while casting a spell, he runs out of magical energies and may not cast any spells until the end of the game. Magical energy returns between games. Well, okay, so he's pretty much out of action here, with the exception of his staff. So that's going to be pretty tough here. So what I think he's going to do is, well, he's not going to move towards Gargoth, that's for sure. So he is going to move the camera 6 inches straight forward with his last 2 actions. He's not going to give up the fight. Now we have a Dwayne. She's going to also attempt 3 actions. And she got him in 8, 10, and 15. So, not sure what we want to do here, because I would like for my archers here to take shots at Gargoth, because he's pretty powerful, because he keeps coming back each scenario with an increase of his danger level. So let's see what we want to do. Well, we do have another wolf rider coming from the north. So I think she is going to spend her 3 actions and move up to the side of the building here. And she's waiting for that wolf rider right there to come along. And that is their turn. Now we could activate the villagers. I think we are going to start with Olwain. And we roll 3 dice. And rolled an 8, 18, and a 5. So we've got 2 actions. So what we're going to do is they're going to shoot at Gargoth. And first roll was an 18 minus 2 is easily hit. And the other one rolled an 8. And was a miss. So got 1 hit on Gargoth. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. And now we've got the other group of archers. And let's see, we'll roll 3 dice. They've got 2 actions. And I think they're just going to move up in position to meet these goblins coming head on. All right, now the turn moves back to Rayek, and he's going to roll for 3 actions. And he rolled a 5, 7, and a 17, so we have 2 events. The first event is Monsters Frenzy. All foes in play, including hordes and wandering monsters, activate, charging or shooting as appropriate. And we could resolve their actions in any order. So we'll start with the Goblin Wolf Rider, who is going to charge into Edwin. And Goblin Wolf Riders normally have a danger level of 8, but it increases to 10 in the first round when they charge into a player character. And so we need to roll. And she got a 7 that she rolled, plus add 2 to her fighter ability. And that was up to 9. So she gets hit by the Goblin Wolf Rider, and the Goblin Wolf Rider deals 1 damage. So Edwin has just moved from 3 to 2 hit points. Next we'll have Gargoth charge Olwain and her archers. So he moves up 4 inches. And we'll have this goblin who's in the back move up. And now for our orc chieftain. And the goblin. And we've got this orc brute. And just 2 goblins here. We'll move the other horde now. So we'll move 3 inches here. And then 1 inch. And we've got this goblin coming up from the south. And I think that is it. Now let's draw the second event, and it is, things could get worse. And so if this scenario has a complication, that event takes place. Otherwise it starts to rain, which creates a penalty for shooters. But there is a complication, and that complication are reinforcements in the form of 3 goblin archers. So what we need to do is they enter on the southern edge of the table at a random location. So I'm just going to roll a couple d6s and see where they enter. And 7 inches. All right, this could create some problems for us here. All right, so Goblin Archer's right there. And now Rayak has his 1 action. And of course, he's going to want to shoot right into these charging goblins. Let's clean up the table a little bit here. All right, so Rayak is going to roll to take a shot at those goblins. He rolls a 17, 18 with his archery skill. Easily takes out this goblin. And now the horde is now a single goblin. And we'll replace the goblin's miniature with a marker there in case we want to search it later. Dimly is up. I think he's just going to roll for two actions here. And he rolled a 3 and a 5. All right. So we have an ambush. So we have a goblin that is going to jump from behind the well here, charge and attack him. And he does have a sword on the mini, so that is what he's carrying. But he doesn't have proficiency, which gives him a -2 die roll modifier. So the goblin's danger level is 5, but now we got to roll 2 less. So it's 9 he rolled, which still is enough to kill the goblin. All right, now to draw the second event. And it is a trap card. So PC stumbled on a trap. Oh, so I recall there's no trap cards in this scenario. So if we draw one, what we do is we just remove it and draw another. So that card is gone. And we draw a new event card, and it is Monster Activates. The monster closest to the PC activates. If it's a part of a horde, it will detach from the horde in order to perform its attack. And clearly that lone goblin here moves in, but just doesn't quite have enough movement. Just needed a half more inch to be able to make contact. All right, with that said, the archers here are within 2 inches and can make an opportunity shot against that goblin. So they're going to attempt it. The danger level is 7, since shooting against goblins increases their danger level by 2. And rolled a 6, so therefore the shot missed. So up next are the armed villagers, and I probably should not have done an opportunity shot because now moving into this action, they're at a -2. So first of all, I need to roll how many actions they get. And I think, these armed villagers are a little overpowered. The reason I say that is they get to roll 3 dice, and there's no consequences if I roll under 7. You can see here I rolled 2 6s, but they don't draw event cards. So we have one event. I mean, not one event, we have one action, and therefore we're going to take 1 shot. So they're going to take a shot at that goblin with the danger level 7, and they rolled a 3. All right. I almost forgot to activate Dwayne. So she is going to continue that fight with the Goblin Wolf Rider. And she rolls a die, and oh my gosh, rolled a 3. She failed. She takes another hit, and she is down to 1 hit point. Now finally we have Olwayne's group of villagers. And so they're going to roll 3 dice. Rolled a 3, a 20, and a 13. So we've got 3 actions because of that crit 20. And we do not draw an event card because they are the villagers. So of course they're going to take shots at Gargoth. So the first shot, I roll the dice, rolled a 13. And I need to double check his stats because he's increasing his danger level, which I think is now 13. But let me double check that. All right, so Gargoth, he started out with a danger level of 10. He came in at scenario 2, so 3, 4, 5. Yep, so he's at 13. So we just barely made it and hit him. And then we roll another die and rolled a 1. So typically with shooters, you break a bowstring if you roll a 1 taking a shot. And so I'm not sure how to address this, but I think the most logical way is that one of these villagers is now unarmed, and so therefore is going to be removed, and we'll have him retreat into the tower here. And then that allows me to replace the crossbowman in the other group with this archer. I think that's the most logical way to handle it. And here is the scene after the second turn. And the fact that the goblins now have archers is a bit worrisome, because as you have seen, shooting miniatures are quite powerful. We're at the end of turn 2 and things have gotten interesting. We have a wizard who can't cast spells, our warrior who's down to 1 hit point, one of our armed villagers who snapped his bowstring and had to retreat into the tower. Meanwhile, we have goblin archers that came out. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. So it is now back to Raic, and I think we're going to try for 3 actions here. Rolled a 9, 17, and 10, so he has 3 actions. And I think the first thing he's going to do is make sure he has proper line of sight. Because when you shoot, you got to shoot the one that's closest to you and in line of sight. So 7.5 inches, obviously that's closest. Also about 7.5 inches. So he's going to take 3 shots, and the first one is going to be this goblin here that is about to put an axe into Dimley's head. So he shoots, rolls a 10 plus 1 for his archery is 11. Which is enough to take out this goblin. And then he's going to shoot at this goblin here. And also rolls a 10 again. So this goblin is down. And finally, he's going to try to take down Gargoth, who's down to 1 hit point. And he rolls an 11. So Gargoth is dead. Actually, Gargoth is not dead because he has a danger level of 13 and got a 12 total. So we need to put him back. See if Olwain can take care of him. All right, so now it is back to Dimley. And I think we're just going to try for 2 actions here. Rolled a 9 and a 4. Right, so he has 1 action, but we have to draw an event first. And it is Horde Activates. We have 2 hordes on the table. Let's go ahead and see if we could change the camera angle a little here. So we have a goblin horde here, and they are going to continue the charge. And then we have our goblin archers. And let's see, they do have line of sight to Olwain, who is 16 inches away. So the 16-inch range is too far for the goblins because for every 2 inches beyond 8 inches, they must reduce their danger level by 1. And if it's reduced to below 4, then what they need to do is move up to get into a more favorable firing position. So that is what they're going to do, and they see Olwain here, so they are going to move up. And so we've activated all of our hordes. Dimley has his 1 action. And is he going to move up to search that Wolf Rider? I don't think so, because at the end of the game, we automatically are able to search all the foes' bodies that are on the table. So I think he needs to move up to support Edwin, engaged with the Wolf Rider. And speaking of Edwin, it is now her turn. Edwin is going to roll for 3 actions. she rolled a 2 and a 7. So we have 2 events. All right, so the first one is I stepped on a scorpion card. So the PC stepped on a scorpion, or it could be a snake, centipede, etc. Or she could have brushed against something poisonous. Probably not, considering we're in the village here. So she must pass a danger level 10 against her constitution, or she takes 1 point damage, which would knock her to 0 hit points. Now she does have the trait tough, level 1, which gives her a +1 to constitution rolls, which is what this is. So roll the die here, and she rolled a 7, so moves to 8, and she is down. All right, that's not good. Okay, second event, ambush. A minion moves out of the spawning point, bush, boulder, or table edge closest to the PC and charges or shoots at the closest target. So the closest target will be Dimly, who was running up to help. And so the goblin is going to charge. That comes around the building here. Or you know what, we'll say he comes out of the wheat field. Right behind the haystack there. And moves up 4 inches. Now we have the armed villagers. So these two are going to roll 3 dice, see how many actions they have. And they rolled a 3 and 2 16s. They have 2 actions. Fortunately, armed villagers do not pick up event cards. So we've got 2 shots against this goblin horde. So I'm just going to roll 2 dice to see how many hits we get. I've rolled a 10 and a 20. So easily get 2 goblins here. And now it's Olwayne's turn, and we're going to see if we could take Gargoth down. But before we do, I just want to point out a rule that Monet, or is her name Menai? I don't know. Anyway, she's in the tower there, but she can come out as a fighter. So she can be deployed as an independent fighter in the last scenario when the scenario event card is drawn. After her harrowing experience with the orcs, she has given up her childish tantrums and has learned to use an axe. She fights with no modifiers, and she inflicts 1 damage. So she activates like a PC, rolling 1, 2, or 3 dice, and she will defend herself and will move into contact with the foe only if that foe is already engaged with at least 1 other PC. So if she manages to inflict 1 damage against the orc chieftain, then she immediately gains a +1 level on melee rolls with her axe. And I don't remember if we did I don't think the scenario event came out yet. So we'll see. All right, so I looked at my removed cards, and the only cards we've removed is Trap, and I stepped on a scorpion. So we may need her to come out and save the day if things keep going the way they are. But anyway, let's roll 3 dice, see how many actions we get. All right, Olwayne and her fellow archer has 3 actions. So first action is we're going to shoot. And we rolled another 1. So this guy breaks his bowstring and retreats into the tower. Okay, so Olwayne is the last woman standing. She shoots, rolls a 2 and misses, and then rolls a 5 and misses. A 1, 2, and a 5. Okay. It's the start of a new turn, and it's back to Rayek, our elven archer, and he really needs 3 actions. So Gargoth here is the closest to Rayek, and then this goblin here that's squaring off against Dimly, and then third closest is this goblin here, charging against the two villagers. So we're going to go ahead and roll. Come on, 3. Ha ha ha. Rayek pulls through again. He's still MVP. So he rolled 2 15s and a 20. Of course, he's going to use that 20 for that fourth action. And so he's got 4 actions, and so maybe we could kind of rebalance the table here. So first he's going to take a shot at Gargoth. He rolls a die, rolls a 10. That is not enough because he has 11 total. Gargoth has a danger level of 13. And he rolled another 10, his last action, or not next to last action. Okay, he rolled a 14, plus 1 is 15, and that is enough to take Gargoth out. And with his fourth action, I'm just going to try to take out this goblin here who has a danger level of 7 against shooting attacks, and he rolled a 20. All right, nice job, Rayek. All right, Dimly, he's going to try to roll for 3 actions, and rolled a 8, a 11, and a 6, so we've got 1 event. And the event drawn is Wandering Monster. So we have Av Avri, the one-eyed ogre, coming out. So we need to determine where he comes from. First, we need to determine a random table edge. So I'm going to roll a d4. And the south side right here is going to be 1, and then just go clockwise. And I've rolled a 1, so he's going to enter from the south end of the map. And then I'm going to roll 2d6 from this corner here, determine how many inches he comes out. All right, roll the dice. 2 times 3 is 6 inches. So he is right behind these goblin archers here. Dimly is going to move twice with his 2 actions. If you recall, he has the slow move negative trait, so his move is 3 inches per action, not 4. And he is 6 inches away, so that will put him in base contact with the Goblin Wolf Rider. Olwain is a pretty badass archer. She has +3 to her archery in scenario 4, and then +4 in scenario 5, which is what we're in now. And so I think she would be pretty good at taking some long shots because of her archery bonus. All right, Olwain is going to roll for her actions, and she rolled a 13, 17, and 4, so she has 2 actions. And she is going to try to shoot at these goblin archers here. So the goblins are 12 inches away, so she would have a -2 to her archery roll. But she's at a +4, so she's actually going to be shooting with +2. And the goblins are a danger level of 7, so I'm just going to roll 2 dice because she's going to take 2 shots at these goblins here. And she rolled a 15 and a 19, and 2 of these goblin archers are toast. Good job, Olwain. And finally, we have the other 2 villager archers, and I think I'm going to replace this cultist with a regular archer. And they're going to roll for their 3 actions. They rolled a 2, 15, and 13, so they also have 2 actions. So they're going to use the first action to shoot at this goblin here. They get no archery bonuses. Rolled an 18, that's an easy hit. And it looks like the armed villagers are doing a better job than our heroes, right? Now it's back to Rayek. And if he could get some actions here, he would be able to shoot at this Goblin Wolf Rider. And the reason is because Rayek has a special ability called Shoot into Melee. It's one of his traits when I created the character. So I'm going to roll for 3 actions. I rolled a 4, 5, and 19. So we have 2 events first. And the first event is they are at our back. So D6 minions appear on the table. Okay, so, and they appear on the edge where the PCs were deployed. So that's going to be the western edge. First I'm going to roll to see how many minions come out. And it is 5. So we're going to have a horde of 5 goblins coming out from the western edge of the table and 4 inches up. Not 4 inches up, 3 inches up. I keep adding the dice when I should be multiplying. So they show up right here. And here's our horde. So for the second event card, it's, well, timing's good. The horde activates. So the horde closest to the PC, but we only have 1 horde on the table right now, which is this large one here. And so they are going to move 4 inches towards red. Now this changes the picture for Rayek. So he was going to try to take out the Goblin Wolf Rider, but he has to shoot the enemies that are closest to him in line of sight, which is the horde that just appeared. So Rayek is going to roll d20, and he rolled a 9 plus 1 for his archery. So one of those goblins is removed from the table. Let's see what Dimly can do here. Roll 3 dice and roll 2 18s and a 17. All right, so we're going to do a melee attack against the goblin. The goblin's danger level is 8, and Dimly, he is going to roll with a -2 modifier because he does not have weapon proficiency with the sword. So the die is rolled and rolled a 4, so it's a missed. So Dimly takes a hit. So he's down to 2 hit points. Dimly is going to fight again, and he rolled a 13 minus 2, so he does 1 damage on this Goblin Wolf Rider, and the Goblin Wolf Riders have 2 hit points, and so he needs to roll again with his third and last action, and he rolled a 13, so good job, Dimly. He takes out the Goblin Wolf Rider. Now it is the armed villager's turn, and I'm going to start with these 2 guys. And they roll 3d20s and rolled a 1, 3, and 9. So they've got 1 action, and I think they need to use that to move just to get a little bit closer to some of the targets here. So they're going to move right here. Now, Wayne is going to roll 3 dice. She rolled a 1, 2, or 5. She takes no actions this turn. So it is now back to Rayek. Rayek's going to attempt 3 actions. Rolled a 1, 10, and 16, so we do have an event. And the lucky event is... It is lucky. That may come in handy. So he spots something in the closest terrain. Choose one of the following: a hand weapon, a rope, set of lockpicks, a key, a secret message, or jewelry worth 3d6. And he's already, let me check what he's armed with. I believe it's a sword because that's what's on his miniature there. And he does not have a weapon. So he is going to choose a sword just in case his bowstring breaks. Rayek is going to shoot twice into this horde. And rolls a 15, got that for sure. And I'm not sure if he's... And he definitely did not... Well, let's see. Yeah, he's within 8 inches. He rolled a 6. And with his archery, he goes up to 7. And they're a danger level of 7 for shooting attacks. And so he takes out 2 goblins. Now, Dimly, he is going to attempt 2 actions. And he rolled a 14 and a 1, so there is 1 event. The event is monster activates, so it's the monster closest to the PC. And that monster would be this guy over here. So we're going to move him 4 inches. Moving towards the archers there. And he has 1 action. And of course that action is to determine Dwayne's fate. So he is going to take an action to take a look at Dwayne, see if he can revive her, see what's going on. So we are going to roll on the out of action table. And on a 1 to 6, Dwayne is dead. On a roll of 7 to 10, she is comatose but alive, and she'll survive if carried off the board. An 11 to 13, she comes to, but she has a -4 to all rolls, only 1 hit point and a movement of 1. On a roll of 14 to 18, Dwayne comes to, but has a -2 on all rolls, 1 hit point, and moves at half speed. And that's what happened to her in scenario 3, or was it scenario 2? But then if it's a 19 plus, it's just a flesh wound. She recovers, and she has 2 hit points. She could stand up with her next activation and perform normally. Dwayne also has that tough ability, if you recall, and that also gives her a +1 to this critical roll here. So we're going to roll the dice. And we rolled a 4. So she is dead. Because with her adjusted roll of 5, 1 to 6 is dead. We need to have a moment of silence. Let's go ahead and activate our 2 archers here. I was hoping that Dwayne would have a final epic battle with Krugar, the Cruel, but that it's not going to happen, obviously. So they rolled a 6, 13, and 15, and so the archers have 2 actions. So first action, they're going to shoot that goblin that's closest to them, and roll a 19, easily taking that goblin out. So now they need to move their attention over to, which looks like maybe the chief. So, yep, the chief. They cannot see the goblin archers behind them. All right, so let's see what type of range we have here. All right, so just under 12 inches away. So they are going to shoot with a -2 modifier for the last roll. And they rolled a 16. And Krugar's, let's see here, his danger level is 13. So 16 minus 2 is 14. His danger level is 13. So he's hit. He's hit. Kruger starts off with 4 hit points, so he is now down to 3. Wayne rolls 4 actions, and she rolled an 18, 3, and 1, so she has 1 action, and she's going to use that not to shoot the goblins to her south, but to move. Our end game here is to kill Krugar the Cruel, so that's what we need to do. All right, so she just moves up, and now it is back to Rayek. Rayek, he's also going to attempt 3 actions. We roll the dice, rolled a 20, a 3, and a 15. When you roll a 20, you could either perform 1 additional action or you could avoid drawing a card. And I think that's what I'm going to do, is avoid drawing a card. So I'll take that 3 away, and that leaves me with my 2 actions. With my 2 actions, I think I'm going to use them both to move. That way I could get into range of Krugar the Cruel and set up for the last battle. And now we have Dimly. He's trying to shake off the shock of losing a Dwayne. And he is going to also try 3 actions to get into the battle here. He rolled a 7, 10, and 12, so we have 1 event card to draw. And that event is, it's another ambush. I think he drew the last one. So, hey, another goblin comes from behind the haystack here and attacks. So he rolled the dice and rolled a 2. The goblin hit Dimly, and Dimly is down to 1 hit point himself. Dimly, he can't get out of melee unless the goblin gets a free hack, so he's going to use his action to roll. He rolled a 19, thankfully, and we're able to remove that goblin. And Dimly has 1 action left, so he's going to use his action to move 3 inches. And now he's done. So back to our villagers here. So I think these guys are pivoting. The Orc Brute is a little bit closer, so they actually need to shoot at him. So let's roll for our actions. If I could find the D20s, here we go. And they rolled 1 action. So we're going to take 1 shot at the Orc Brute. Rolled an 11. No modifiers, but let's see how far they are from the target. I think it was just about 12 inches. Yep, just about 12 inches. So they need it's a -2. So we're at 9, and that is enough to take out the brute. No, it is not. He has a danger level of 10, so never mind. So they missed. Old Wayne rolls for her actions, of which she gets 1. So she's going to use that opportunity to move up. Rayek is going to roll for 3 actions. And he rolled a 2, 13, and 18, so we have 1 event. And the event is Mana Flux. It doesn't matter since Dimly can't use magic. So that was nice. So we're going to use his 2 actions to shoot at the Orc Brute. These 2 are 11 inches away. The Orc Brute is 9 inches away, but he's got some partial cover. There's an obstacle here, so you can see him, but there's still an obstacle. So he's going to roll at a -2. So his first shot, he rolled a 10. -2 plus 1 for his archer skill. So he rolled a 9. But that is not enough to hit because the Orc Brute has a danger level of 10. So for his last shot, we rolled a 17. And that hit the Orc Brute, who has 3 hit points. So the Orc Brute is now down to 2. Dimly is going to roll for 2 actions. He rolled an 11 and 17, and he's going to use both of those to move. So he's able to move 6 inches. That concludes his activation. And we're back to the armed villagers. So 11. So the Orc Brute is the closest. So let's see how many actions we could get from these guys. All right, so a 1, 11, and a 17. So we have 2 shots. And I'm going to use both the shots at this brute. So they're shooting at a -2. So a 20 automatic hit and rolled a 10, -2. Oh, actually it's -2 because of the range. But the 20 hits, and so he's down to 1 hit point. And finally we have a Dwayne. I mean, not a Dwayne. Dwayne is dead. We have Olwain. And she has, 2 actions. And she's going to use both to move up as well. And now we have Rayek. He's going to roll for 3 actions. We roll the dice, and he got 3 actions. So he's going to take another shot at this Orc Brute here. Rolls a d20, rolls a 13, plus 1 is 14, -2. He certainly hits the Orc Brute. The Orc Brute is dead. And he's got 2 more shots left. He's going to, of course, go for the chieftain here, for Krugar the Cruel. He rolls a 5 and misses, and rolls a 3 and misses. Thank goodness he didn't roll a 1. And his turn is over. Back to Dimly. Dimly's going to attempt 2 actions. He rolls a 5 and a 14. So we do have an event to draw. The event is Horde activates. So we have 1 Horde, and that's the goblins behind us. So let's go ahead and move this over a little bit. And they are going to move 4 inches, come up around the rear here. Dimly's going to move for his action. So he moves up 3 inches. And now we're going to activate the 2 archers. And they rolled 13, 16, and 17, so they've got 3 actions. So they are going to shoot and shoot at a -4 against Krugar. So this I think is going to be a tough shot. Rolled a 1, 2, and 17, so we have another archer that has a broken bowstring. I had that archer also retreat back to the safety of the tower, or at least somewhere out in the village away from the goblins, since he is unarmed. And that leaves us with 1 armed villager plus Olwain, which it is her turn. And forgot to mark down Krugar. He's down to 2 hit points. So Olwain rolls for 3 actions, and she gets none. So it is back to Rayek, who's going to do the same. And he rolled a 2, 16, and 18, so we have 1 event. And the event is Monster's Frenzy. So they all get to move. So we'll go ahead and do these guys first. So the goblin moves up. The Got a Howlin' Mad Kruger who moves up as well. We have our Ogre, moves up, as does the small horde. They move up 4 inches, closing in. And finally, we have the Goblin Archers. Unfortunately, these archers did not or have not made an impact on the game. Now he's going to take his 2 actions, and he's going to take 2 shots at Krugar. Rolled a 9 and a 17, so 1 miss, 1 hit. Krugar is down to 1 hit point. Before I activate Dimly, I need to make a correction because I just realized that Krugar the Cruel has the Amulet of Protection, which is +2 versus any magical or mundane ranged attacks. So that means, after I went back and I looked at the video, is that the very first hit was actually a near miss. So Krugar has 2 hit points left. Now we could go ahead and activate Dimly. I think he's going to need to change course here a little bit because there's some goblins coming up on their flank there. So he is going to roll for 2 actions again. And he rolled an 18 and a 1, so we have another event. That event is a scenario event. And the scenario listed in the book is a Goblin Wolf Rider appears from the center northern edge of the map. So pretty much in the same place that the other one started, that took out Edwayne. So here's our Wolf Rider, and I'm just going to go ahead and put him up at the top of the map there. All right, so now Dimly has his 1 action, and he is going to move to intercept these Goblin Warriors if we need to. And we have one of the villagers and Olwain left. So Olwain is going to roll, and she got 2 actions. And of course, she is going to shoot Krugar. And if you remember, she has a +4 to her archery skill. So we add +4 to that. And first shot is an 18 +4. Easily takes down Krugar down a notch. And then she's going to shoot again. And we'll see if this is game. And she rolled a 3. Nope, she missed. So now we have the archer roll 3 dice. Rolled a 1, 15, and 17, so got 2 actions. So let's just see if this villager takes down the chief. And first roll was a 6, so it was a miss. Second roll is a 10, also a miss. All right, Rayek, what the heck? Let's go for 3 actions here. Roll the dice. 8, 18, and 19. So he has 3 actions. And of course he wants to take Krugar the Cruel down. So first shot is an 18 +1 is 19 -2 for the magical amulet. And Krugar has been killed. So that is the end of the scenario. So let's look at what happens at the end. So let's take a look at the loot. First of all, we get 100 silver pieces from Mistham's elder, Odinil, and we get 100 silver pieces. Also added up all the bodies on the table and came up with 84 silver pieces. So that's the loot from everyone. And we also got 2 healing potions from the village wise woman. and Kruger's magic items. The first item is the Amulet of Protection, which gives the wearer +2 versus ranged attacks. So that's going to be great for one of my characters. And we also received the Enchanted Sword, which he was carrying, which gives +1 to hit and +1 damage. So when I make up a new melee person to replace a Dwayne, they will be equipped with that sword. Rayak, impressed by Elwayne's archery skills, asks her if she would like to join their party. She politely declines because she realizes her place is in the village as its protector, and also she has respect of her dad, Odinel, who someday will make her the village elder. Overall, I really enjoy Last Stand at Mistham. It's a fun campaign to play through because it has a great story arc that kind of builds on itself after, when you play each scenario through. And there's a lot of variability, so you could play it again and have completely different story and different outcome. And we played just the basic game. There is an expert game which adds new rules and makes it a lot tougher as far as the enemies that you encounter. So for example, in the expert, you'll be encountering more orcs than goblins, which are, well, to be honest, quite wimpy with that 1 hit point and a danger level of 5, except for range combat where there's 7. That's still pretty low. And speaking of combat, one thing I would have liked to have seen more of is melee. I don't feel like I really got a Dwayne in the action. I would have loved to have seen this story end with an epic battle between Krugar the Cruel and a Dwayne, but unfortunately she was killed by that goblin wolf rider. So that's a little niggling thing of mine because those shooters are quite powerful, and as long as they could stay at range, they could just pick off all the enemies. And while we had some goblin archers, they were just never able to quite close to take any shots. So that's my main thing. But overall, it's like I said, it's very fun. And if you play it again, you could play different creatures. So for example, instead of goblins, you could substitute them for your Frostgrave Gnolls, for example. So I just like the RPG elements in this game, and it's definitely a keeper, and we will at the Fantasy Skirmisher revisit it. So I'm going to take a break from Sellswords and Spellslingers for a little bit because there's other games to explore. But we will certainly come back to it because it's a game that I think is a lot of fun. And I also got a request for a tutorial utilizing the first scenario in the core rulebook. So we will certainly be back. And in the meantime, just to check out my other videos that I've been posting if you haven't already. And I just want to thank you for watching the Fantasy Skirmisher. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe. And as you know, I'm a bit of a newbie. This channel just started in February of 2022. So not long ago, and it's going to continue to expand and grow. Thank you very much. Bye.